So as you look at this roster and rookie mini camp starts on Friday, what do you think of it? What are your thoughts of this roster? We've been around this for a while. How good is this roster as it's currently constructed?
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's, on paper it looks good, and on paper it looks like they address the needs that they have. But, the variable, Dave, that, none of us ever knows is that the old injury bug, and, you're a blown knee away from losing a star player at any time. And, that just changes everything. And when you have to start asking guys who aren't ready to take on roles that they're not ready for, then, you get situations like we've had over the last few years here. So, I really like what they've done with that defensive front in this offseason. I still think the linebacking situation needs to be addressed a little more detailed, if you will. I think Anthony Walker coming back. I think we all, until Anthony Walker left, we didn't realize how valuable he was to this team, and that's why I think even that, as we talked about earlier, the McLeod pickup for that secondary is important. You need that at each of those groups. You need that veteran guy who is going to take whatever the message is that's going out by that position coach and reinforce it, not only in the meeting room, but on the field. So I think that was vital as well. We've talked about their need to add to that wide receiver room, and they've done that. My God, they're going to have about 16 guys on the field, I think, for that first practice, which is great, though. I mean, competition is going to bring out the best in all of those guys. I think we haven't talked about him at all, but I think it's a real credit. And after finding out more of what he dealt with, the fact that Amari Cooper even finished last season, given the injury that he was dealing with, that core muscle injury that he had surgery on, really, I think speaks a lot to Amari and what he's meant to this team and what he could mean to this team going forward. So, listen, it's all going to be about that quarterback. It's all going to be about number 4 and how he performs. But in terms of just looking at the roster, yeah, it's a talented roster up and down. And you just got to hope everything works out for them.
Yeah, and I'm with you. We said that last year. Last year's roster looked pretty talented. And then, you kind of said, well, their defensive tackles are young, and that didn't work. Let me ask you this. Does Jim Schwartz's style of defense and the defensive tackles they have brought in, Tomlinson, Ika, Maurice Hurst, does that help the linebacking core? Because a lot of times you're seeing offensive linemen that were getting on top of those linebackers pretty consistently.
Yeah, I think he'll do a better job of kind of disguising things and hiding those guys that are a little undersized, but I think they will be aggressive from the secondary, to your point. I also think they're going to want to maul people up front, and so I think you're going to see maybe a different style with that front 4 in terms of, their technique and how they want to. And the thing that I really wish, and I'm sure Schwartz, once he got here, has been thinking about it as well, is how do you get Myles Garrett more opportunities? What schemes can you draw up to load up his side of the ball so he can come free? And if he doesn't come free, he's going to create a double or triple team where somebody else on his side is going to get free. So listen, Schwartz has a lot to work with. I think the other thing that, and this is no knock on Joe Woods, but I'm not so sure the Browns did a good job of adjusting and adapting in game last year. And I think that's one of Schwartz's strong points as well. So it's one thing to have a nice roster of players at your disposal and schemes to run. But I think it's more about then once the game starts and, the offense starts making adjustments to you, then you got to adjust back. And I think Schwartz and his experience is going to mean a lot for the Browns that way.